have given you my youth. I have given you your children for 25 years. And now I'm giving up everything that I believe in so you can feel complete. So tell me, what more could you possibly want from me?
Jessica Lange is here. She is a two-time Academy Award-winning actress, a mother of three, partner to Sam Shepard, and most recently a vocal anti-war opponent. Earlier this week, she joined in delivering a petition to the United Nations that was signed by more than 1 million people opposing a possible war with Iraq. Here is some of what she had to say.
And when I hear our president state that to attack Iraq would be in the great moral tradition of this country, and with a kind of stupefying religious hubris, claim that we have God on our side, I can't help but thinking we are living in a world gone mad.
In addition to being politically active, she hasn't forgotten her passion for acting. Her latest project is called Normal. It airs on HBO on March 16th. I am pleased to welcome Jessica Lange back to this table. Welcome.
Thanks, Charlie. I'm glad to be back here.
Why did you feel, what was it about this possible war that made you feel so strongly that you had to be a part of making a case against the war in your judgment?
You know, it was an immediate, I have to say, an immediate reaction when the drums of war began to beat this summer and early fall. And I really felt, you know, especially at this time, in this day and age, with the capacity for destruction that we have, that to not exhaust every possible avenue of peace to resolve a situation, that we are entering into something that is so horrific that you know, it was impossible not to speak out, basically.
But what is it that makes it so horrific for you?
Well, the
war itself or this war?
War itself, but this war in particular, which I do believe in my heart that there is a way to find a solution to this without resorting to this kind of violence. I mean, granted, there are, you know, every war has its horror, and every war is, you know, I mean, destructive and deadly, and yet with this, I really felt very strongly that we were entering into it with a kind of a rush, that the country was being pushed into something that we never even had the opportunity to debate, to have any kind of dialogue on. And that, I feel, is very dangerous. You know, whenever there was dialogue, the dissenting voice became the enemy. I mean, within our own country, you know. I mean, so that we were never able to actually. There was no debate in schools. There was no debate in local governments. There was no. There seemed to be no dialogue allowed. It was a path that we were, like, forced onto, and I really felt very strongly that if, you know, that it is not something we can just enter into without some consensus from the American people. And that consensus still is slow coming. I know you're going to look at the latest poll.
This says more Americans now faulting UN on Iraq poll finds Americans are growing impatient. And I know you read this because you were concerned about things like this. Americans are growing impatient with the United Nations and say they would support military action against Iraq, even if the Security Council refuses to support an invasion, according to the latest New York Times CBS
Yeah, but go on
News
to say, I mean, it does go on to say
that... The poll found that 58% of Americans say the United Nations is doing a poor job in managing the crisis, a jump of 10 points from a month ago, and 55% of respondents in the latest poll would support an American invasion of Iraq, even if it was in defiance.
Right.
But a majority of respondents, 52%, said inspectors should be given more time to search for evidence of nuclear, biological, chemical weapons on the ground in Iraq. Still, that number's dropped. Okay. So there's your point.
Well,
most
that's my point.
Americans want to see more inspections,
time.
not
Yes.
war,
Yes.
right now.
And also, if you would go on even further, there is something about the fact that the majority of Americans still do not feel that they have been given the justification for this kind of action. That the president has not yet, this administration has not yet made an absolute case for war. Why it has to be war. Why we cannot continue with inspections, why we cannot have a kind of a community that enforces inspections, and to try to resolve this without going to war.
Tell me, what circumstances might justify war
well,
on your part against Iraq? What might justify what the president and his administration seemed clearly intending to do?
Yes, I know they are clearly intending to do it. You know, nothing, I have to say, nothing that I have seen evidence that Iraq is guilty of justifies us, you know, orchestrating a preemptive attack on
whatever
that
war they
country.
may have waged against Iran, or whatever war they may have waged against Kuwait, whatever they may have done to their own people, doesn't require, demand America in its own national security to attack them.
Absolutely.
And the possibility that they might acquire, in your judgment, nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, but then why do we have such a duplicitous, you know, policy? I mean, here we already, do you know what I mean? If you set up the example of Iraq against the example of Korea at this point, then why aren't...
Many people are saying Korea is more dangerous.
Yeah. Or if you say, you know, I mean, any of the reasons that have been given, and the reasons keep shifting, which also makes me somewhat suspect. You know, first of all, it's weapons of mass destruction. Yes, but then you could name how many countries have these weapons of mass destruction. Okay, then you say it's Saddam is a brutal dictator. There are a lot of brutal dictators around the world.
Okay,
some of whom.
But here you have the combination of the brutal dictator. Who has some association with terrorism, who finally has shown himself to be clearly in pursuit of weapons of mass destruction. There is a convergence here, the administration, and they would say North Korea is the best example of why it's an unacceptable premise. I mean, and they made a mistake. There were some diplomatic failures in North Korea. Perhaps the president's own language contributed to it.
Well,
although,
it certainly seems to.
Although they were probably cheating before the president put them on the axis of evil speech.
Yes, yes.
So my question, I guess, is it simply come down to you saying, you know, that war is so horrible, and the risk of this war, in terms of spreading, increasing, enhancing terrorism.
Right. Which we have heard from our own experts.
Instability in the region.
Yes, which we have heard from our own experts.
Finding ourselves with a large percentage of the world against us.
Yes.
All of that.
Yes. With, you know, with committing, what do we have over there now? Close to 300,000 troops?
200,000 and
2,200, okay. I mean, you know, when you read about, like, the bombing, which the Pentagon or whoever makes up these names, shock and awe that we are going to drop something like 3,000 bombs and missiles within the first, you know, hours, the first days of our attack. When you know that the targets, I mean, and again, this is military information, the targets are close to hospitals, they're close to schools, they're close to community centers, to residential centers. I mean, and here we have a nation that's 50% children. I mean, why are we even considering taking this tack when there's still time to try to come to a resolution peacefully? And people, I mean, even you know, the inspectors, everyone's saying they're working. The inspections are working. We are actually, you know, getting rid of this. We're getting rid of that. I mean, and, you know, it just seems to me, and again, I come back to this thing, is that he has not justified this war to the American people. He has not justified it to the citizens of the world. Everyone is going to be affected by this. Everyone will be, on some level. And the destruction and the death that will result from this kind of invasion, this kind of attack, is so overwhelming. I mean, I think it's beyond what we can comprehend.
But I don't see this sort of attacking of the patriotism of people, but you're saying that people are either, does it have career consequences for you, you think?
You know, to tell you the truth, Charlie, at this point, that's like one of the last
I know you don't care, but I'm just
considerations.
asking whether there is a resentment
I
in
think,
terms of expressing an anti-war
I
feeling.
suppose there is, yes.
But do you hear it? Do you see it?
Yes,
Is it expressed
I do.
to you? Or?
Well, I see it, you know, like when people say, you know, how dare celebrities.
Yeah, but I don't even entertain that argument here because you, like a school teacher, like a doctor, like everyone else.
Anybody else who has a strong opinion and should be, should have the opportunity to speak out if you believe in something.
Exactly.
But you know what bothers me, I have to say, is that the equation that's made between being anti-war and unpatriotic.
Yeah.
Now, whether that has consequences on my career,
I mean,
you know what I mean? It's possible that it could. I probably won't be working for Fox. But
can you survive this?
I think I can survive that.
You can? All right.
But no, you know,
I'm surely as soon as somebody from Fox hears that, they will say, that's really not fair to us. We would employ her in a second. And,
yes, well, we'll
and you're
see.
saying that because there's some people that you might disagree with who are on the Fox network.
Yes.
Or the Fox channel, news channel.
Yes.
All right, but listen to this from you.
All right.
I mean, I'm going to quote you.
You're going to quote me. Oh, dear. Okay.
This is what you said.
You have to remember, I'm a very emotional person.
If I don't know that by now, how many times have you been with me at this table?
Yes.
It makes me feel ashamed to come from the United States. It is humiliating.
Okay.
I don't feel that.
No. Here's what that was in context. See, it's been taken out of context. It was a question that was presented to me about this administration. And how did I feel about Bush's presidency and what he was doing? And that was in direct response to a very specific question about, and it was, how did I feel about, being from the United States during this administration? And my response was, it's embarrassing. I feel ashamed to be living under this administration. And I have to say, it's not just the war, but I mean, that has become so monumental in all of our lives, but it's all of his policies across the board. I do not support this man. I do not support his administration or his policies. I think it's destructive. I think he's divisive. And I think in the long run, the damage that will be done to this country will be long-lasting.
But it doesn't make you feel ashamed to come from the United States.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Now,
it makes me feel ashamed to be here under this administration.
Can I turn now to
Thank
this
you.
movie? And tell me about it. This is going to be on HBO March 16th, I think. And then I have some other questions.
All right. You know, it's the film is actually a lovely story. It's quite beautifully written. It's what I would define as a parable. It's like a little tale. It happens to be about a husband and wife who have been happily married for 25 years. A kind of a small story, takes place in the Midwest. And on the soon after the 25th wedding anniversary, he reveals to her and to their pastor that he has been terribly unhappy and for years has known that he is a woman trapped in a man's body. And finally he has come to a point in his life where he cannot he cannot tolerate it anymore and wants to proceed with a sex change
operation.
Yeah.
Roll tape. Here's that scene.
Roy, whatever it is, just get it out, honey. I don't even have to know what it is. I mean, just talk it out with him, okay? Please?
Irma, if you want, you can wait in the chapel.
Yeah.
No, I'd like Irma to stay.
Better still. So, tell us what's on your mind, Roy.
I've been struggling with something for a long time. I prayed for years for it to go away, but it won't.
Go on.
I was born in the wrong body. I'm a woman. I've known it all my life.
Oh my gosh, Roy.
Good grief. Roy, I don't know what to say.
No, I don't either, except I love Irma very much. The last thing I want to do is cause her any pain.
Roy, are you having an affair?
Oh, Irma, no.
This doesn't make any sense.
Roy, I have to agree. I mean, you've been married to Irma for 25 years. You have 2 wonderful children, and suddenly, out of nowhere, you make this strange declaration?
It's not out of nowhere. I've been hiding it for years. It's been an agony. I can't go on living my life like this. I'd rather die.
Oh my God, Roy. Do you mean that?
Yes.
Tell me about him as an actor.
Tom, he is, well, he's just extraordinary. And in a part that, I mean, you can imagine the complexities and difficulties that are inherent in trying to do this. I mean, to take a man who you can see is a big, not terribly attractive, I mean, in the sense of what would then translate into female form. I mean, he has just extraordinary intelligence and a kind of an amazing subtlety, so that when you watch this transformation that he's going through, it's so perfect and so beautiful and yet so understated that you never feel like you know, there's a one of the great dangers, of course, would have been to do it camp or to do it broad, or not even intentionally, but that it would become that somehow. And with him, it doesn't. It's a perfectly calibrated, absolutely brilliant performance. He's amazing.
Fun to work with.
Yeah, he's great. He's funny. He's very funny.
You seem to be in a pretty good place now. You can do films.
Yeah.
You're being offered theater.
Yeah.
Soon, your kids will be out of the nest.
Yeah.
And you and Sam can
come back to New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It'll be it'll be wonderful. Not that it'll be wonderful that they're out of the nest. I hope they don't go too far.
All right.
But it'll be nice to be back in the city. You know, we've spent a lot of time living in remote places, country and farms and small towns. And yeah, I'm anxious actually to come back to New York. I love it here.
Hurry back.
Thanks.
Great to see you.
You too, Charlie. Thank you.